I am excited to bring you my top 5 rookies that I cannot wait to draft as we get closer to the 2024 season. These are I would say, my top 5 sleepers or my top 5 risers in my rankings. 5 players that I believe could potentially have fantasy success if everything goes right for them in the NFL draft. So let's get straight into the video. Before I get into my first player, keep in mind a lot of things have to go right for all of these players for me to start drafting him like crazy going into my rookie drafts. Of course, they have to get a good landing spot, a good draft capital, good opportunity for them to instantly go into a workload. So keep in mind a lot of things could change once the NFL draft comes around. But some of the guys that I'm just excited for and really want to talk to you about. And my first player at the running back position, now that the running back position is kind of decimated with, Travion Henderson going back, Jonathan Brooks tearing his ACL, even though he might be on the list a little bit earlier or later. Bucky Irving is a running back that I am excited about coming out of Oregon, 5'10", 195 pounds, 21 years old. And once again, he is somebody that I'm excited about because he fits the current NFL mold so far in the 2024 season as we go in. And so far, we have seen him be pretty successful. 172 attempts, 6.3 yards per carry on the ground, over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. But what's so exciting about this is that he is a pass-catching back. He led the FBS in running back position in targets and receptions and yards after the catch when you do a minimum of 30 receptions, in the 2023 season. Caught 52 out of 58 targets, over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. An explosive running back that can come in and take, the top off in the back end, right? Explosive, dynamic, somebody that is quick, twitchy, that can move around in short area spaces. That's exactly what you want to see, right? He is somebody that he can, once again, spread the ball around, be a dynamic threat for an offense. And that's exactly what I want to see when I'm looking at the running back position. What can they bring? Are they a pass catching back, especially in the PPR format? That is really exciting when you think of the longevity of fantasy success. He can come in and he may not have to get the 20, 30, 25 snaps like we've seen with Derrick Henry. He can get the 12 to 15 or even 10 opportunities in a game, like a Devon Achane coming in like we saw this past year and taking the ball to the house and or getting those pass catching opportunities in the air. That's what Bucky Irving can do. I'm nowhere saying that he is near the talent. I'm just talking about the production that he could potentially bring in a fantasy perspective. One of my pro comps for him at the moment is a James Cook. I was somebody that was in love with James Cook coming in out of Georgia. He was somebody that I thought he can do first, second, and third down work. And the first year we didn't see that. But this past year, and we've seen in the playoffs, he can handle the first and second and third down work if he can. Now, he may not be the best pass blocking running back, just like Bucky Irving is not the best pass blocking running back, but he is somebody that can do the first and second down workload with the dynamic opportunity to catch the ball. So this is what's really exciting about him. Yes, he may be 5'10", 195 pounds. A lot of people discounted James Cook because they didn't love the opportunity. But what's really good is that he is a PPR monster, and that's exactly what you want going into the 2024 season when you think of somebody like a Bucky Irving. Now, I do expect his draft capital to be around, I would say, the 3rd round or 4th round. Now, if he gets any higher draft capital and lands in a really good landing spot, that is what's really exciting. And I do have 3 potential landing spots that I truly love coming into this year. You can see here, the Los Angeles Chargers. He takes over that Austin Eckler role, and he can either jump in just to the pass catching opportunity on 3rd down or 1st and 2nd down, whatever that looks like. He can take over those targets for Austin Eckler. What about the Las Vegas Raiders? Does Josh Jacobs come back to this offense? Maybe he doesn't, and Zamir White is the 1st and 2nd down guy, and then Bucky Irving is a 3rd down pass catching running back. We've seen a lot of opportunities for Josh Jacobs getting targets in the air. If I'm not mistaken, he was top 5 in targets this year in 2023, and that's what is exciting. What about the Baltimore Ravens with J.K. Dobbins tearing his Achilles, with Gus Edwards? Yeah, he may be the goal line guy. I know you have Keaton Mitchell there, but does he come in to the Baltimore Ravens, take over that Gus Edwards role where he probably is no longer going to be with this team? Obviously, anything can happen. Maybe they do stay. Maybe they extend him, whatever the case may be. Not saying he's leaving, just saying what if he does leave, gets cut. Bucky Irving can come in and take those opportunities. And maybe Keaton Mitchell is not going to be ready for the 2024 season now that he tore his ACL. So keep that in mind. Bucky Irving, one of my favorite running backs that I cannot wait to draft in my rookie drafts. My second player that I am ecstatic for, that you guys should really not sleep on, because I think the community is sleeping on him right now, and we already see him rising in rookie mock drafts. That is Jonathan Brooks. I did mention him earlier, one of my favorite running backs. Currently right now, he's my RB2. I said this in a live stream, and I said this in other videos. I will not be surprised after the NFL draft, maybe in middle of July, early August, a lot of people are going to have him as their RB1, depending on the landing spot and draft capital. Before we get into all of that, look, I just want to tell you a little bit about him. 6 foot, over 200 pounds, 20 years old, broke out this year, can handle the workload on the ground and in the air. 187 attempts, 6.1 yards. He was averaging on the ground, over 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, caught 25 out of 29 targets, over nearly 300 yards and a touchdown. One of the most dynamic running backs in this class. And before he tore his ACL, he was my RB1. He was somebody that I was going to go all in for coming into the 2024 season. And I think I still am, even after the ACL tear. He did tear his ACL in mid-November when he was playing TCU. Tears his ACL out for the season, unfortunately. He does declare into the NFL draft, which makes me believe that he is pretty confident and his team is pretty confident that he could potentially get a significant draft capital or land in a spot where he can see himself progress in the 2024 class. With the slim pickings at the running back position, maybe he was going to be the consensus RB1 before his injury for the NFL. Maybe now he's consensus number 2 behind Trey Benson because he tore his ACL. Doesn't mean he's not going to be a successful NFL running back. We've seen multiple running backs in college and in the NFL tear their ACL and come back and beat fantasy relevant running backs. I'm not saying he is in the likes of someone like a Breece Hall, but we've seen that same pathway for Breece Hall this year, where he tore his ACL last year, comes back and finishes as a top 10 running back. And I mean, I was wrong on him. I was telling everyone to avoid him because of how history has shown running backs don't return good value the year after they tear their ACL. You have to wait a whole nother year. And I'm not saying, once again, Jonathan Brooks is going to be that in 2024, but this is the long play. This is somebody that you draft for your future, not for the 2024 season. But look, I am somebody that is a massive advocate saying that he could return for week 1, and he is going to rise. And let me tell you why. He tears his ACL in November. According to all reports and doctors, they always say ACL tears, depending on position that you play, specifically for running backs, take up to 9 months. 9 months after November, it's about end of July, August, September. Well, really August, September, early, middle of August, depending on the exact day he tore his ACL. I think he can be ready for week 1, if not at least by week 3 to 4, where he can start taking over a backfield that is exciting for me. Now, is he going to be crazy fantasy relevant this year? No, he's going to have to get acclimated. He has to get that knee. He has to get used to that knee and, gain chemistry with this offense. But what's exciting is the thought process of these landing spots and where he could potentially go and take over a backfield. And let's get straight into that. You can see here my top 3 landing spots for someone like a Jonathan Brooks. The Houston Texans. We just did a mock draft a couple days ago now, and he got mocked to the Houston Texans with C.J. Stroud, Tank Dell, Nico Collins. This is an exciting running back. And now, look, I've been saying Dameon Pierce does not fit this offense. You see someone like a Devin Singletary take over the workload. For weeks 8 to 18, he was RB16. Jonathan Brooks can elevate that, no question about it, and easily be a top 12, a top 10 running back, maybe in a week-to-week basis or for the fantasy year. Then you see the Baltimore Ravens, something like we've seen, I said, similar to Bucky Irving. What's going to happen with Gus Edwards, Keaton Mitchell? Jonathan Brooks is an overall full running back that can take over the Keaton Mitchell role and the Gus Edwards role, which is also really exciting. And I think one of my second favorite spot out of all landing spots is the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Jones most likely potentially going to walk after this year. You see Jordan Love ascending. Do you get Jordan Love, Jonathan Brooks, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Dontavion Wicks, Luke Musgrave? Oh my goodness, this offense will be crazy phenomenal, and he can take over this backfield, which is really, really exciting here. So Jonathan Brooks is my second player that I cannot wait to draft. Before I get into my next player, guys, go to flogfantasy.com/land, the best place to support what Zach and I are doing here. Look, we've just released our scouting report, and you can see a little glimpse here of Marvin Harrison Jr., all of his pro comps, his traits, his attributes, what he can do. And we're going to be updating that going into next year, or next month, February 1st. We're bringing out the version 2, where there's going to be a lot of cool upgrades. All you have to do is, once again, go to flockfantasy.com, select the Mother Flocker tier, use the promo code LAND, and not only do you get our scouting report, but you get our fantasy hotline, which is a personal DM for Zach and myself, the trade review videos, I would say one of the best trade calculators on the market, and so much more. So once again, flockfantasy.com/land. Not only do you get all that, but so much more. And let's get straight into my next player. All right, let's go to the wide receiver position. One of my favorite wide receivers, also rising up my rankings, coming out of Texas, and that is Adonai Mitchell. 6'4", 196 pounds, 21 years old, and this is somebody that is a big body, someone that can spread the field, someone that has really good, strong hands, and be a dynamic player for an offense going into the 2024 season. Look, had a decent year in Texas, 51 receptions, 78 targets, just over 800 yards, and 10 touchdowns. What's really exciting about this is that he is somebody that is going to be developing as he gets into the NFL. You have to understand that there is untapped potential with someone like an Adonai Mitchell. And like I've said earlier, the soft, short hands. He played really well against Alabama and has one of the lowest drop rates in college football, with 2.3% drop rate out of all those wide receivers coming out of college. Look, we've seen the success, kind of like I said, played well against Alabama. And that was against one of the top prospects, cornerbacks, in Kool-Aid McKinstry, and he performed significantly well. And that's exactly what you want to see. Someone that has gone up against high caliber competition and has been successful and has divvied him up on the field, has crossed him up. And that's exactly what he's done when you go watch that, Texas versus Alabama game. Now, yes, he is not an extreme yards after the catch type of wide receiver. He is not somebody that is going to excel and get you all those opportunities, but he is somebody that you're damn sure is going to be catching the ball. You're damn sure that can easily take the top off of the defense, which is also really exciting. I would say this is a Louis Vuitton Gabe Davis, right? Like, that's exactly what he brings. He's a better route runner. He's a better overall talent. He's a bigger body. Someone I would say is significantly faster, not significantly, just faster than someone like a Gabe Davis that we've seen. And if he does land in some of these landing spots that I do have projected, as you can see here, like the Buffalo Bills, does he take over that Gabe Davis role and bring a little bit more nuance to the route running tree for him? Does he come in and take over and get a little bit more creative and take a lot more targets away from everyone else? I would say maybe outside of Stephon Diggs. What about someone like the Denver Broncos? You've seen Courtland Sutton be very successful, big body wide receiver. Adonai Mitchell can progress to be as good as a wide receiver, I would say maybe in his prime as a Courtland Sutton before he tore his ACL. or where he's kind of getting mock draft everywhere too, that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Everyone is loving the landing spot for Adonai Mitchell going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, you have Rasheed Rice who can play can play the slot, can play the outside, but Adonai Mitchell can be the field stretcher, big body wide receiver that you don't have, right? The big body opportunities that you are been waiting for now that Travis Kelce could potentially be retiring going into the 2024 season. Obviously, anything can happen, but Adonai Mitchell, a wide receiver rising up my rankings and someone that I cannot wait to draft going into next year. All right, my fourth player is someone that I'm actually extremely excited about, and I think a lot of the community has been seeing him a little bit split. I've seen a lot of people dislike him and a lot of people like him. And this is a quarterback, somebody that I'm really excited to be drafting depending on the draft capital, and somebody that I think is completely underrated, especially with how significant injuries have been coming in this past year, and someone that could take a job from somebody, no doubt. And that is brother Bo Nix out of Oregon. Somebody, once again, I am really excited about. 6'2", 217 pounds, 23 years old, a little bit older of a prospect, but we've seen him be successful at Oregon. Look, he has an elite accuracy. You know, he is one of the most pinpoint quarterbacks in currently coming out of this draft class, right? Pre-snap specialist, somebody that can easily dissect defenses, can read the field, can understand who is going to be rushing, who is going to be, pretending. He can read the gaps. He can understand what's going to be happening in the play, which is also very exciting. He is cool, calm under pressure, and he takes care of the ball and extends the play with his legs, which is also a very underrated asset that does that attribute that Bo Nix does possess going into the next level. He is somebody that has been really underrated in this draft class, and a lot of people discredit him because of the type of offense he was in. A lot of people have been saying, well, he's been throwing a lot of short intermediate passes. He doesn't have the strongest arm. They don't really like him. He was a fifth-year senior. I get it. But we've seen success from quarterbacks like that. We've seen the Brock Purdy's just do these short passes in the middle of the field. Then we see him be successful with the longer passes, right? Like, that is the type of things that we're looking at. We're trying to find somebody that can be a great game manager, but can also be fantasy relevant. Brock Purdy, I'm not knocking him. I'm not saying he's just a game manager. But the first couple of weeks and when he kind of popped out, he was like, okay, this is a game manager, but can he really be that exciting or that good if he was in another offense? Put him on the Giants. Is Brock Purdy as good as he is, or is it the system around him? And this is what's exciting about Bo Nix. If he does land in the right system with some decent weapons around him, that could be really exciting for somebody like me, who maybe I may need a quarterback who can get him early second round, middle of the second round, depending on where he does get drafted. That is really exciting to me. You think of who he can potentially be, like I said, Brock Purdy, a Baker Mayfield. A lot of people compare him to the Russell Wilsons of the world. I really like what he can do. And once again, a ridiculous 92.8 PFF passing rating, which is completely phenomenal here. Now you look at the landing spots where he could potentially go, right? These are 3 landing spots that I'll be really excited for, and a lot of people have been raving about as well. People have been saying, imagine any quarterback, in my opinion, Bo Nix going to the Atlanta Falcons, who has Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson over there. Anything can happen if someone like a Bo Nix goes into the Atlanta Falcons that's going to be getting a new head coach. What about the New York Giants there, where we've seen the success with, Brian Dable, manage someone like a Daniel Jones for the 1 year, not saying he was amazing, and Josh Allen, and excel him to the next level, who also has Darren Waller, Wanda Robinson, who has a top 5 pick. Maybe do they get a Rome Odunze? They obviously have Saquon Barkley if they do sign him. And one of my low-key favorites here, what about the Denver Broncos? The Denver Broncos are a low-key team that I do believe could be looking for a quarterback. Russell Wilson obviously is going to be, they parted ways, right? He's probably no longer going to be on this team. You have Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. You drafted Marvin Mims. You have Javonte Williams in the backfields. You have decent weapons around already. Do they get a wide receiver in the first round? for the Denver Broncos and then draft Bo Nix in the second round, that can be a favorable landing spot where he's going to immediately compete with another quarterback, no matter who they bring in, for him to have a starting job. And if someone like Sean Payton drafts a quarterback in the first or second round, that means they are investing in him and potentially going to be moving forward with him for the next 4 years. So brother Bo Nix, one of my favorite quarterbacks, I can't wait to get my hands on going into this year. All right, going into my last player, my last wide receiver that I can't wait to get my hands on, a big body wide receiver that I truly believe can take over a wide receiver room, and that is Xavier Legette, 6'3", 227 pounds, 22 years old. He is a late breakout, a fifth-year senior, but 86.8 PFF receiving grade, just over 70 receptions, 96 targets, over 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns here. And I say this all the time, he is a big body DK build X type of wide receiver. Incredible athlete, insane speed, the size with speed in combination that he can bring to an offense in a wide receiver room could be phenomenal. Once again, 87.6 PFF receiving grading, really great hands as well. You can rely on him to catch the ball with a 3% drop rate. And like I said, this is a big play threat wide receiver that can stretch the ball down the field. And yes, he has to improve on his route tree, which is very limited at the moment. But if he can, expand his route tree and improve his release package, he is somebody that can be utilized. And once again, the DK Debo-esque type of player, once again, with that size speed combo, can really take the talents to the next level. We've seen a lot of people compare him. I mean, I've been the biggest comparison to a DK Metcalf. You've seen the Jonathan Mingos. I know Zach has compared him to, that's his floor. He also compared him to Cortland Sutton. I just think of DK. I think of, I'm saying a faster Cortland Sutton. I'm not saying he's as good as him, but somebody that can rise up and have a good potential success going into the 2024 season. Now, what's really excited here is the potential landing spots that he can go to. I can easily see him being taken in the second round or maybe at the end of the first round to a team that needs him. You think of the New England Patriots, who is going to be drafting a wide receiver or quarterback, in the first round, and then taking a wide receiver like an Xavier Legette. You think of the Carolina Panthers, who need to give Bryce Young some help and don't have their first round pick. If you're telling me the Carolina Panthers, with their first pick, take a wide receiver in Xavier Legette, that is a huge indication that they need to invest in a wide receiver, of course. And last but not least, one of my favorite landing spots for Xavier is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, Calvin really wasn't as successful as we all thought. If they do keep him, they need to give him a second round or give up a second round draft pick to the Atlanta Falcons, if I'm not mistaken. Xavier Legette, not saying is a good route runner like a Calvin Ridley, but he can potentially bring the bigger, big body threat that they've been needing. Yeah, you have Christian Kirk in the slot and you have Zay Jones, but Xavier Legette can easily be the wide receiver 2 on this team, where he can play the Calvin Ridley role and maybe do a little bit better because of his size, not because of his route running, but because of the size that he can bring going into this class here. So once again, Xavier Legette, Bo Nix, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Brooks, and Adonai Mitchell, some of my favorite rookie players that I cannot wait to draft going into the 2024 year, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, it's all love.
Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh,
it's so easy. Even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.